Evan Murdoch never feared the night. He grew up in North Carolina, where pitch-black backroads were as common as Sunday prayer. But on December 19th, while driving down Route 47, somewhere between Winston-Salem and nowhere, he felt something he had never felt before on a highway. The sense that the night was watching him. It was 2:43 a.m. The air was cold enough to make the truck's heater stutter. Evan had delivered construction materials earlier that day and was heading home, fighting the weight in his eyelids. He slapped his cheek, rolled the window down, and let the icy wind hit him. He reached for the radio, hoping music would shake him awake, but before he could switch stations, the radio let out a long, warbling static hiss, like someone whispering through broken wires. Then another sound came through. A voice. Faint. Female. Help, please. Evan froze. The voice wasn't coming from the radio station. It was coming from somewhere between frequencies, an area where nothing should exist. He tapped the radio. The voice repeated, louder this time. Help, he's coming. Evan gripped the steering wheel, pulse thundering. He switched the radio off. The voice didn't stop. I see your lights, don't leave me. Evan slammed the heel of his hand against the dashboard. The voice cut out instantly. Silence returned, thick as tar. He released a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. Just fatigue, he muttered. Lack of sleep making you hear crap. But then, something ran across the road. Not an animal. Not a person. Something wrong. It moved on all fours but bent in ways nothing living should. Long limbs. Skin pale as bone. Evan gasped and yanked the wheel. The truck swerved so violently he nearly flipped into the ditch. He came to a shaking stop on the gravel shoulder. His headlights illuminated nothing. Not a creature. Not a shadow. The road was empty. Evan sat in stunned silence, listening to his own heartbeat. Then, tap, tap, tap. A slow, deliberate knocking on the passenger window. His blood ran cold. He turned his head painfully, almost unwillingly, toward the sound. Something stood just outside the glass. The truck's headlights only illuminated the edge of its form. A tall, elongated shape, like a human stretched too far. It didn't bend to look inside the window. Instead, its face was pressed sideways against the glass, like it didn't know how a head was supposed to turn. Its eyes were pure black, reflecting light but showing nothing. Its mouth hung slightly open, as if learning how to imitate human expression. Tap, tap, tap. Each tap was intentional, as if it wanted him to open the door. Evan's breath quivered. He reached slowly for the gear shift, but the creature slid its face across the window, making a wet, dragging sound, and placed one too long hand directly over the handle. It knew. It wanted to stop him from leaving. Then, in a low, breathy whisper, the same voice from the radio. Don't leave me. Evan screamed. He slammed the truck into reverse, flooring the gas. The tires spun wildly before catching grip. The truck launched backward, but the creature kept up. It moved like a spider, its limbs folding and unfolding in unnatural angles as it scuttled alongside the truck. Evan shifted into drive. The creature was suddenly in front of the truck, inches from the bumper. How it got there, he couldn't comprehend. He jammed the horn. The sound echoed across the empty forest, but the creature didn't flinch. It simply stood there, its body twitching as if mimicking human reaction with a delay. Then it opened its mouth. Wide. Too wide. A long, trembling inhale came from it, as though it was smelling him. That broke Evan's paralysis. He floored the accelerator. The truck lunged forward and passed through the creature. No impact. No sound. No resistance. The creature dissolved into shadow like smoke splitting apart. Evan didn't look back. He drove like hell, hands shaking so badly he could barely hold the wheel. The road signs passed in a blur. He didn't slow until he reached a gas station 20 miles away. The lights were bright, fluorescent, buzzing with life. Civilization. Safety. He pulled into a parking space and sat there, drenched in sweat. A knock on the driver's window made him jump so hard he nearly cried. But it was just the attendant, a skinny guy in a reflective vest holding a broom. You all right, man? Evan rolled down the window. Did anything weird happen around here tonight? Anyone? Strange. The attendant frowned. You mean on Route 47? Evan nodded slowly. The attendant swallowed hard and looked around as if making sure no one was listening. You shouldn't be out there after midnight. People hear things. Voices, mostly. Evan felt his stomach twist. What kind of voices? The attendant leaned closer. A woman. Crying, sometimes. Asking for help. Evan's blood went cold. The attendant continued. Local legend says a girl went missing on that route in '96. Car crash. They never found her body. Some swear they see her running across the road. Running. Evan whispered. Yeah, the attendant said. On all fours, like an animal. Evan's breath stopped. But the sheriff says that's nonsense. Says the real danger is. The attendant suddenly froze. His eyes widened. He stared past Evan, toward the wooded line behind the gas station. Is that someone behind your truck? Evan whipped around and saw a shape. Tall, still, watching. Evan didn't bother to look twice. He slammed the truck into gear and peeled out of the parking lot, almost fishtailing onto the road. He didn't stop until he reached his home hours later, locked every door, every window, and collapsed on the living room floor. The sun eventually rose. He told himself he'd imagined everything. Stress. Fatigue. But that evening, as he tried to sleep, his radio turned on by itself. Static filled the room. Then a whisper. Don't leave me. Evan's scream echoed down the hallway. Marcus Hale had stayed in cheap motels hundreds of times during his delivery runs, but none felt more depressing than the Lone Palm motor in off Highway 99 in rural Kentucky. He pulled in at 3:12 a.m., exhausted after 12 hours of driving furniture across the state. The night felt unusually cold, colder than winter should have allowed. He grabbed his duffel bag and headed toward room 6, the key dangling from a chipped plastic tag. The neon sign outside flickered eerily behind him, buzzing like angry insects. He wanted nothing more than a shower, a warm bed, and silence. Instead, he got the opposite. The room smelled like mildew and old cigarette smoke. Marcus tossed his bag onto the bed and sat down with a heavy sigh. The springs creaked loudly, almost too loudly, like something beneath the mattress pushed upward in response. He froze, then slowly pressed his palm into the bed. The mattress sank normally. Just exhausted, he whispered to himself. He showered quickly, the pipes rattling as lukewarm water sputtered out. When he stepped out, toweling his face, he heard a sound. A soft, dragging scrape from beneath the bed. He stared at the narrow shadow under the frame. Nothing moved. Nothing shifted. But Marcus felt something watching him. He crouched down, lifted the bed skirt. Darkness. Just stained carpet. He exhaled with relief, until a thin, pale hand darted out and grasped the carpet right in front of his face. Marcus fell backward, slamming into the dresser. The hand slid quickly back under the bed, disappearing with an unnatural smoothness. Marcus scrambled to his feet, adrenaline flooding his body. He grabbed his keys and bolted for the door, but the handle wouldn't turn. He yanked harder, but it felt jammed from the inside. He smacked his palm against the wood. Hello? Anyone out there? The door's stuck. No answer. Not even wind. Just the motel's neon buzz seeping through the thin walls. He stepped back, chest rising and falling rapidly. The scrape returned, this time louder. He turned slowly toward the bed. Something was crawling, slowly, deliberately, toward the edge of the frame. A voice followed it. A whisper. Childlike. Cold, so cold. Marcus shook his head violently. Nope. No. I'm not doing this. He grabbed the small nightstand and shoved it against the door, preparing to smash the window instead. But then he noticed the window. He hadn't before. There were handprints on it. Dozens. All on the inside. Some tiny. Some impossibly large. Some smeared. Some fresh. His breath caught in his throat. Then, thud. Something slammed against the mattress from underneath. Marcus jumped back. The bed lifted, just an inch, then dropped. Like something was testing its strength. Marcus backed into the bathroom doorway, terrified. The bed skirt rose slightly, pushing upward from beneath. A pale face appeared, but it was upside down, neck bending unnaturally as it peered out. Its eyes were huge, pitch black, reflecting nothing. Its mouth hung open in a silent scream. Marcus grabbed the shower rod like a weapon. The thing whispered again. Cold, come down here, it's warmer. Marcus screamed, swinging wildly. The rod passed through empty air. The face was gone. Suddenly the bed shot upward violently, slamming against the wall. Marcus stumbled back into the bathroom, tripping over the mat. The lights flickered. The mirror cracked. Something heavy crawled out from under the bed. He heard its limbs, too many limbs, scraping across the carpet. It moved slowly, dragging itself unnaturally toward the bathroom. Marcus slammed the door, locked it, backed away. The creature's fingers slid under the gap at the bottom, tapping lightly, almost playfully. A whisper seeped through the crack in the floor. "Don't hide. I'm already in here." Marcus turned his head slowly toward the shower curtain. It was bulging outward. Something was standing behind it. Marcus didn't wait. He ran forward and tore the curtain open. Nothing. The tub was empty. Silence swallowed the room. Then hands, cold, bony hands, wrapped around his ankles from beneath the tub. The old paneling below the tub frame bulged as if something massive hid behind it. Marcus fell hard, hitting his chin on the tile. He kicked wildly, screaming, trying to pull free. The hands tightened, tugging, dragging him toward the darkness. No. Let go. His nails scraped against tile as he clawed at anything he could reach. The lights pulsed. The room grew colder. Finally, with one desperate kick, he broke free. He scrambled out of the bathroom, slamming the door behind him. The motel room felt different now. Wrong. The wallpaper pulsed like breathing skin. The ceiling rippled faintly. Footsteps, light, skittering, many, ran underneath the floorboards. Marcus didn't think. He grabbed his duffel bag and sprinted to the door one last time. This time it opened easily. Too easily. As if something had unlocked it for him. He ran across the parking lot, jumped into his truck, and peeled out. Heart pounding. Hands shaking uncontrollably. In his rearview mirror, the motel shrank into the darkness. Then a figure stepped out from room 6. Tall, pale, black-eyed, watching him leave. It didn't chase him. It didn't move. It just watched, head tilting slowly like a curious animal. Marcus didn't stop driving until dawn. At the next town, he burst into a diner, shaking violently. He told the waitress everything. The hands, the bed, the voice, the creature, the motel. She stared at him with deep concern, then said softly, "Sir, the Lone Palm Motor Inn burned down in 1998. Nobody stayed there in decades." Marcus stopped breathing. When police arrived at the site later that day, they found nothing but a scorched foundation overgrown with weeds. Room 6 didn't exist anymore, but Marcus' duffel bag, the one he remembered grabbing, was still sitting in the ashes, and in the soot beside it were handprints. Small, large, fresh, and leading toward a dark gap in the collapsed floor. It was 2:57 a.m. when 17-year-old Emily Danner woke to the unmistakable sound of tapping. Not the heater. Not the branches in the wind. This was knuckles on glass. She rubbed her eyes, disoriented, and looked across her bedroom. Her window was fogged over. The tapping came again, gentle, rhythmic, deliberate. Emily's stomach clenched. Her room was on the second floor. Nobody could be tapping on it. She grabbed her phone and turned on the flashlight, slowly aiming it at the window. The reflection blinded her at first. Then she saw it. A silhouette standing outside. Tall, unmoving, watching her. Emily stumbled backward, knocking into her dresser. The silhouette didn't move or flinch. Its hand, long, unnaturally thin, lifted slowly and pressed against the glass. The window pane frosted beneath its touch, spreading like icy veins. Emily's voice cracked. "Dad." Silence. Her heartbeat pounded in her ears. She reached for her curtain, intending to yank it closed. But the figure leaned forward suddenly, pressing its face against the window. Emily screamed. Its features were barely visible through the fogged glass. Hollow eye sockets. A stretched mouth. A head tilted at an impossible angle. It breathed slowly, fogging the glass further. Emily bolted from her room and charged down the hallway. She burst into her parents' bedroom, gasping, "There's someone at my window." Her father shot up, confused and irritated, but he followed her. When they reached her room, Emily stayed behind him, trembling. Her father threw the curtains open. The window was empty. No silhouette. No frost. Just darkness. "Probably a nightmare," he muttered, though his eyes betrayed uncertainty. "But I saw." The words lodged in Emily's throat. She didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next morning, Emily walked outside to reassure herself it had been a dream. Fresh snow covered the yard. Pristine. except for one section directly beneath her window. There were footprints, but they weren't human. They were too long, too narrow, with heel marks that curved backward like an animal. Emily froze. The tracks led from the woods straight to her house, then directly up to the wall beneath her window, as if something had climbed. Her breath fogged the air as she whispered, "No, no, no." That night she refused to sleep. At 1:24 a.m., she heard scratching. Not on the window. Inside her wall. Something moved in the insulation. Slowly, deliberately. Emily grabbed her phone and recorded the sound. The scratching stopped immediately. Then a voice whispered through the wall, "Emily." She dropped her phone. Her breath hitched. The whisper came again, "Emily, let me in." She ran to her parents again, but when they checked her room, silence. No scratching. No voice. Her parents insisted she sleep on the couch downstairs. Emily didn't argue. At 3:11 a.m., the living room window began to fog. Emily sat up slowly. Something was outside. She reached for her phone with shaking hands. A dark shape passed by the window, tall, gliding, silent. The fog spread until the entire glass was white. Then a faint outline of a face pressed into it from outside. Emily covered her mouth. The thing knew she had moved rooms. She crawled backward until she hit the wall, eyes glued to the window. The figure's head slowly rotated, listening, searching. Then the tapping started again. Emily couldn't scream. Her voice had died in her throat. She crawled behind the couch, clutching her phone. The tapping grew louder, faster, more urgent. "Mom, Dad," she whispered, but they slept upstairs. Something scratched the glass. Long, sharp, slow strokes, like claws. Then she heard the front door handle jiggle. Once, twice, 3 times. Her heart nearly burst. She dialed 911 with trembling fingers. The operator answered. 911, what's your? The door handle stopped moving. Silence fell so sharply it felt suffocating. The operator said, "Hello? Are you safe?" Emily whispered, "It found me." The operator spoke slowly, calmly. "Stay on the line. Officers are on their way. Are your parents home?" "Yes," Emily whispered. "Don't open the door for anyone except police," the operator said. Then the operator paused. What is that sound?" Emily's blood ran cold. She heard it too. Behind her. Inside the house. A soft, wet breathing. Too close. Too low. She turned her head an inch and saw a hand slowly reaching over the back of the couch toward her. A long, skeletal, pitch-black hand. The creature wasn't outside anymore. It was inside. Emily screamed and rolled away just as the hand grabbed the cushion where her head had been. The creature rose behind the couch, unfolding to its full height. Its limbs grotesquely long. Its head nearly scraping the ceiling. It stared at her with hollow sockets that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Its mouth opened slowly, revealing nothing inside. Just darkness. It took one step toward her. The floor creaked under its weight. Emily ran toward the stairs, nearly tripping in her panic. She bounded up the steps, screaming for her parents. Her father burst from the bedroom, eyes wide. "What is it?" Before she could answer, the creature climbed the stairs in 2 impossibly long steps. Her mother shrieked. Her father grabbed a lamp and swung it. The lamp passed right through the creature as if it was smoke. But the creature still reacted. Its head jerked sideways. Then its face twisted into what looked like a smile, but far too wide, far too wrong. The creature lunged. Her father slammed into the wall, lifted off the ground by an invisible force. He choked, clawing at his neck as he rose higher. Emily screamed. The creature stared directly at her while holding her father midair, its black eyes widening as if studying her emotions. Her mother rushed forward, hitting it with everything she could grab. Her hands passed through it each time. The creature didn't even acknowledge her. Emily had one thought: get outside. She grabbed her mother's arm and ran. They made it to the front door. Emily flung it open. Police sirens wailed in the distance. The creature appeared behind them instantly, phasing in like a shadow snapping into existence. It whispered softly, almost lovingly, "Emily." She ran into the snow barefoot, her mother collapsing behind her. The creature stopped at the doorway, its form rippling like heat waves. It couldn't leave the house. Emily fell into the snow, sobbing as police cars skidded into the driveway. Officers rushed inside. She heard shouting. Then silence. Then screaming. Later that morning, an officer approached Emily with a grim face. Her parents were alive, injured, but alive. Her father kept repeating the same words. "It smiled at me. It smiled at me." When investigators searched the house, they found something chilling. Huge, black handprints on the inside of every window. And inside Emily's bedroom wall, behind torn insulation, they found a small, child-sized skeleton. The coroner estimated it had been there for decades. No one knew how it got inside the wall, or why it whispered Emily's name. Emily and her family moved out the same day. They never returned. But sometimes, late at night, Emily looks out her new bedroom window and sees the glass fog over from the outside. A handprint appears, then a face, smiling, watching, waiting. If these dead of night horror stories kept you on edge, then don't leave yet. Hit that like button, because it helps more people discover these terrifying true encounters. Subscribe for more real, spine-chilling stories every single night. And tell us in the comments which story chilled you the most. Your experience might inspire the next horror video.